we just talked about powerful women, and let's keep
Yeah.
that theme going because right now we're going to
Great
be
idea, man.
joined by Samantha Greene, and again, she's Regional Underwriting Officer at Travelers. Samantha, are we a big Dolly Parton fan? Hello, welcome to What the Truck.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. My first podcast experience, and you have to put me up after Dolly.
Right. Yeah, it's a little difficult to follow.
Just small shoes to fill there.
Yeah.
No, we are excited for you, and I think you're going to do great. Now, you've got a few things to tell us about the state of women in trucking today, and again, we're thrilled to have you here. And let me just kind of get into it. When it comes to how do I want to say this? What's the state of women when it comes to trucking right here today?
Yeah, of course. First off, I want to start by saying that when we're talking about women in trucking, we're not just talking about women truck drivers.
Yeah.
Women make up about 4% of long haul Class A CDL drivers, but that number hasn't meaningfully moved in about 15 years. So women play all kinds of roles in trucking, from dispatch and safety risk managers to brokers, warehouse operators, and executives. In fact, the latest Women in Trucking Index shows that nearly 28% of C-suite roles, 34.5% of supervisory leadership roles, and nearly 30% of board seats in trucking organizations are now held by women. So while the female driver representation has plateaued, leadership representation is growing, which is a really great sign.
So the 4% that you mentioned of drivers or women that are drivers or drivers that are women, actually, right?
Yep.
Yeah, not women that are 4% of women are drivers. Did you know? No, 4% of drivers are women. What are the challenges that they're facing? What keeps that at that 4%?
Yeah, so safety is a big one, especially for over-the-road drivers. There's been meaningful progress there, such as the American Trucking Association's Women in Motion group has partnered with Trucker Path to create an app that identifies truck stops with specific safety features like lighted parking and bathrooms, 24/7 access, and on-site security. The facilities that meet 7 specific safety standards are clearly marked in the app, so it's very easy to find, and it's a good step forward for women in general. While safety infrastructure improvements matter for women, they improve the conditions for the entire workforce. And beyond that, we really need to consider the broader structural realities of trucking in general. Drivers work up to 70 hours a week with safe parking remaining limited, and the time away from their families can be significant. So at the end of the day, safety improvements matter, especially for women, but the real opportunity is addressing the core challenges of the profession that impact all drivers, not just women. So it's a bigger issue.
Now, Samantha, you've mentioned the broader definition of women in trucking. What does this actually look like in practice, practically?
Yeah, so it looks like connection and mentorship, both formally and informally. There's organizations like Women in Trucking they're building leadership pathways and networking platforms to create conversation and connection amongst women. I've been at industry conferences and general trucking events in the past, and I've been told it's so great to see another woman here. And I think that connection matters. It reinforces that you all belong in the room.
Very, very good. So what should carriers and industry leaders really be thinking about right now in terms of what women can bring to the industry, the impacts that women can make in the transportation industry?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And honestly, it's part of a much bigger industry issue. The industry is facing a workforce sustainability challenge. One contributing factor is a succession problem. We have aging drivers. The average truck driver is 47%, and the average owner-operator is 56%. And only about 20% of drivers are under 35, compared to 35% of the overall labor force. So that adds up to a looming replacement problem. As baby boomers and Gen X drivers retire, those seats have to be refilled. But the bigger issue is retention. Turnover rates at large carriers exceed 90%. So while the industry has been able to recruit drivers, keeping them is another story. Then you can layer women into that equation. Women represent an available workforce segment that the industry hasn't meaningfully expanded into. Attracting women drivers could help address the broader industry workforce issue. But you also need to consider that women tend to enter the profession later, often around age 40. So improving working conditions while helping all drivers in general could help recruit women in particular, which in turn helps strengthen retention across the board. Long-winded, but to get back to your question, I think there's three things carriers and leaders should focus on. One, safety infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, it's critical for all drivers, but particularly critical for attracting more women. Retention strategy. Research shows younger drivers prioritize a healthy work-life balance, stable career paths with strong company culture, and better training. So again, this applies to the industry at large, but could help attract women since women enter the profession later when flexibility and balance matter even more. Solving the driver retention issue, it's not just about compensation. It's about designing a career people want to stick with long term, because who doesn't want a career they love? So finally, the final thing, mentorship and visibility. As discussed in the beginning, women representation in leadership is improving, and that creates a pipeline effect, and we need to be using that. If we want that 4% driver number to improve, the industry has to be intentional in these three areas.
Well, thank you so much, Samantha. I hope, again, your first podcast experience was everything that you were expecting, and I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for being kind.
Of
Thanks for
course.
having me on.
Of
Fabulous
course.
job, Samantha. Thank you. Peace.